Howdy folks, AJ coming at you again, your resident vintage gamer. Today's video is going to be a vlog. We're going to talk about a wide range of topics. We're going to talk about the Star Wars trailer and Star Wars Battlefront. And we're going to talk a little bit about Pathfinder, my Pathfinder game that I go to. We're going to talk a little bit about Pillars of Eternity. And I got a couple shout outs I got to give. So without further ado, let's go. So to start out with, let's talk about that amazing trailer for Star Wars The Force Awakens. I know that everybody watching this channel probably has seen it multiple times. I know I've seen it multiple times, and it's been digested and orated about on multiple media outlets and everything. The only thing that I have to add is that watching that trailer, and of course specifically the end with Han Solo and Chewbacca on the Millennium Falcon, I was instantly time traveled back to when I was like 10 years old when the original Star Wars came out in 1977. Got that same feeling of holy crap, you know, this is going to be awesome. Can't wait. Most anticipated movie in many years for me. So from appearances, it looks like J.J. Abrams has done a stellar job, and we can only go by the two trailers that we've seen, but just the reactions that people are having to it should say something about that. In concurrence with that trailer being released, we also had the trailer for the new Star Wars Battlefront video game. It also was awe-inspiring. That trailer looks amazing. Now, I don't know how much of that's in-game footage. I don't know how much of that is cinematic, but that all, you know, we have to wait and see. But fingers crossed. We've been burned before by EA, so again, fingers crossed. Let's hope it's as good as it looks in the trailer. How many of you are out there looking forward to that title? I'd like to know that. Been playing a lot of Pillars of Eternity, and a lot of you out there, a lot of my viewers, were the ones that told me to pick that up. Now, there were other people that said to go for Divinity, which I have not played yet. The deciding factor, I think, there was that I knew with Pillars of Eternity your adventuring party can have 6 characters, and I believe in Divinity you can only have 4. And going old school with the old school titles, D&D titles and everything, you could have 6. So I like Baldur's Gate, etc. So that was the reason I went that route, and I've been having a lot of fun with it. So I've actually had a couple of my viewers who have, while I've been playing it, because they're friends with me on Steam, they have actually watched my game. They can join in and watch as I'm playing. I've had that happen a couple times. So I apologize. I don't remember who they were, what their names were on Steam, but they wouldn't probably want me to tell anyway, even if I could remember them. But for those, if you watch this, if you're watching this video and you were one of those, thank you for that. The next thing I wanted to talk about was my Pathfinder game from last night. We play every other week, and for that one, I don't do it here. I have to travel a little bit, about 30 minutes. And I've been in that group for quite a while now. And last night's And that's a homebrew campaign, completely created by the DM. Everything in it, period. And so last night we have one of our player characters is borderline evil. He is chaotic neutral, and he had been doing some questionable things, and the one that I'm speaking about in particular, we did not know about, and it came back to bite him, because it turned out, and I'll give the really short, condensed version of this. Bottom line is, we were in a town. We were all doing kind of our own thing. A couple of us were in the tavern. A couple of us had gone to buy some items, and he was doing his thing. And it turns out that he was, because he's a cleric, it was a child that found him and asked if he was a cleric. He said yes. He said, my mother, or either my mother or grandmother, one of the two, is ill. I need your help. He went to the woman's room, and it turns out that he ended up killing her. Now, of course, his side of it is that it was a mercy killing because she was dying and she was in pain and da-da-da-da. However, the boy didn't see it that way, and after we left the town, we went to another nearby town that was overrun with undead, and we decided to take it upon ourselves to eradicate that undead threat, including a lich, etc. We do all that, so for a moment we're heroes because we've eradicated this threat and everything, but then shortly thereafter the town comes to arrest him, based upon the boy's testimony, saying, oh, he killed my mother, grandmother, whoever it was. And of course he's saying, well, no, she, it was a mercy killing, she was in pain, suffering, da-da-da-da. And they said, it doesn't matter. You should have consulted with somebody, but, so their intent is to try him and all that, which they end up doing. And one of our other character is able to do a spell with speak with the dead, and speak with her corpse, and there's a limited number of questions that you can ask when you use that spell, and one of them was, I guess he said, how did you die? She said, I was killed, and then he did a follow-up question where he said, did you ask to be killed? And she said no. And then he asked, were you murdered? And do you feel that you were murdered? And she said no. So very on the fence there on the answers there. But of course the town, they took it as, that she was not asking to be killed, so therefore it was murder, and so they convict him and everything. So my character, my ranger, had been watching all this and not really saying a whole lot, but at the sentencing, I decided it was time for me to speak up, and I wasn't really, because of my alignment versus his alignment, the other player's alignment, I wasn't really I wasn't in agreement with what he did. However, I thought that I owed it enough to him to say, let me try and go to bat for him a little bit. And so I said, I appealed to the courtroom, and I said, I'd like you to take into consideration that he did assist with the rest of us to eradicate the undead threat from the nearby town that we did, and that in his mind he felt like he was ending her suffering. I said, would you please take into consideration all those factors before you sentence him, and at least spare his life? And at that time they said, well, we have two options. We can banish him for all time from this region. He can never come back, or we can have him locked away for the rest of his life. But they said if we banish him, you all can have no contact with him, or you will be banished as well. And I said, well, would you consider remanding him to our custody, and we guarantee that he will not return? And they were willing to go along with that. And so at that point, they decided to let him speak. And all of us, all the fellow characters or players in the room, including the DM as well, all expected him to say, "I agree," da 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 da. And so this is kudos to the player himself, Joe, because he stayed true to his character's alignment, stayed true to his character. They allowed him to speak, and he said, "I was far more merciful to that woman than I'm going to be to any of you, to all of you." And of course, Jaws, and he basically just sealed his fate. And he ended up getting killed. They ended up putting him to death after that statement because then he decided to try and fight back. He channeled negative energy. He killed a couple of guards, and so two of our other characters in the group, when he attacked everybody, he attacked them as well, and so one of them was a lawful good character, and of course he decides he's got to finish this guy off because he's killed two additional people and so forth. And at some point, it was just the cleric, the lawful good cleric, and there was our sorceress, who were trying to help take him down, to end all of this. And the lawful good cleric looks over at the sorceress at some point and says, I gotta see if I can do this right. Looks over and he says, "So you want to magic missile this fool?" Just as casual as could be, like, would you just magic missile this guy and get it over with? I just thought that was funny. So bottom line was he ended up being put to death, and because he was true to his character, he could have easily said, "Yeah, I'll take banishment," but nope. He said, "No, that's not what my character would do," and so as a result, he's gonna have to roll a new character. So anyway, that was actually a much longer story than I expected it to be. I was trying to do a condensed version, but I realized about halfway through that wasn't possible. So anyway, so that was an epic night as far as we were concerned, because we just had a ball with it. So and then lastly, what I wanted to talk about, I got 2 shout outs that I wanted to do. I found, and I'm not really even sure how I found them, but I found another channel here on YouTube called Dice and Decks, and they do kind of a nightly hangout, Google Hangout, and I just saw it on Facebook and on my feed there, and I clicked on it, and next thing I knew, I was in there. I was in the hangout, and I had to introduce myself and all that. And so I've been on there a couple times now, last night as well, after my Pathfinder game. And we discussed, all kinds of different role-playing topics and things like that. And it was a lot of fun. So if you're interested in that, you can check them out. I'll put a link below to Dice and Decks there. And the other shout-out was to, and I've talked about them before, was Battle Bards. The Kickstarter is live now for them. They're the ones that are doing the software for background atmospheric music and voiceovers and that type of thing, and sound effects and all that for your tabletop game. I decided to contribute. I did pledge, and I'm not affiliated with them in any way or whatever. I just think it's an awesome idea, and if you go check it out, they have lots of samples on the Kickstarter page to check out. It doesn't cost a dime. You can just go check it out. So if you're into that kind of thing, I think it's definitely worth checking out. So anyway, that's it, guys. We will catch you on the flip side.